Just
Yeah.
the way he was in that last fight was just unbelievable. Like, that hasn't really been done before. The way he went on like that. There's loads of other fights, but that's the one that probably first comes to my head.
Cam Hardy, really appreciate your time, mate. What have you been up to in, this, let's say crazy year, but it's been a bit longer than a year now. So what have you been doing with yourself outside the cage this past year or so?
So it was October that I actually went full time with training, and obviously in the second lockdown, pro athletes were allowed to train. So it was good for me to then go full time, and I think it worked quite well because I was sort of like getting like pretty much one-to-ones with Davey. So that was perfect for me. Just straight back in, just basically just blowing the cobwebs off. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
Come back, I had a lot of injuries and that I had to overcome and stuff, which is just part and parcel of the sport, obviously. But since then, because before that I was working away loads. I wasn't even in the gym, to be honest with you. I managed to get a bit of time off to go to Abu Dhabi, Fight Island with Davey. I had maybe 2 weeks at home before that, and then that was about it. So, but then since October, it's been full time training.
Nice one. Well, that's the first thing I'll sort of ask you about then, is that relationship with Davey Grant. Because, anytime I watch, one of you lads fight, you can hear Davey screaming in the background. And, we all know that he's probably not just the nicest person in MMA, he's probably the nicest person in the world. So just wanted to ask you a little bit about sort of that relationship with Davey, what it's like and what he's meant to your career.
Oh, we bounce off each other, mate, whether that's in the gym or out the gym or in his corner or fight camps, anything, mate. He's a good listener, and he gives you good feedback. And like you say, I've progressed loads since moving to SBG Bishop Auckland, and he's just a great all-round guy and a fantastic coach.
Yeah, nice. Well, put you on the spot. I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious the answer you're going to give me, but Davey's got a fight himself coming up. It's going to be a rematch against Cheeto Vera. You got any thoughts on that one? What you think's going to happen? Obviously, you beat him the first time. Do you expect more of the same, or do you think they're both different fighters now?
They're both definitely different fighters now. Anyone would be 5 years, 6 years down the line. Do you know what I mean? Cheeto's been on a good tear up, but so is Davey, and I feel like Davey's in his prime at the minute. And I think this fight, it's really going to show how good Davey actually is, and he's gonna get the finish.
Well, I mean, let's stay on the topic of sort of fight picks for a little bit then, because we've got loads coming up. Loads I want to pick your brain on, because obviously I've got my opinions, but I'm not a fighter, so I'm getting them wrong half the time. So I'd love to just sort of pick your brains.
Don't worry, I do on my betting off.
Yeah, as soon as you put money on them, they've lost. But
fucked.
So there's loads coming up. I'm going to ask you about a few English lads to start with. Obviously, a big one this weekend, Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz, UFC 263. When you first look at it, you probably, I think everybody immediately thinks, Leon Edwards should have this. He's such a good fighter. Nate Diaz is probably at his best days at lightweight, I think it's fair to say. But, the more you dig into it, the more you sort of think, 5 rounds, it suits Nate Diaz. It's actually a really interesting fight. What are your sort of thoughts and who are you picking on that one?
I still think Leon's skill set's going to be way too much for him. Leon's sort of one of the top newer breed of MMA, if that makes sense. And like you say, I just think he'll be too much for me. He'll pick me apart too much. And I think he'll get the finish, to be honest with you. That is quite a big thing, because obviously Diaz is very hard to put away, but I generally do think Leon's going to get the finish in that fight. Yeah,
and obviously if Leon can progress after that, possibly get a title shot. I mean, I'm not sure you'd pick anyone to beat Kamaru Usman, but obviously Leon's been beat by him in the past. Do you give him much of a chance? Do you think he could become, the next UK champ, or you think it's a tough task at the minute?
I do, yeah. I generally do. Like I say, his skill set's unbelievable. His determination after all the knockbacks that he's had goes to show the type of guy that he is, and how much he's putting into it and how much he wants out of it. So I do think he could definitely be the guy to beat Usman. The only thing with Usman is he's just getting better and better every single fight. So that is a really hard one to say, that one. But definitely a very interesting fight.
Yeah, Fair enough. Just a couple more on that card. We'll get through them. So obviously the main event, Adesanya versus Vettori. They're both rematches. This one's a rematch as well. I guess the main question with this one is, who do you think's improved the most since that first fight between Adesanya and Vettori?
I think Adesanya, to be fair, because if you look at like the people who he's fought compared to the people who Vettori's fought, but then I think Vettori, I don't know. I think because they've already had that fight, it could build his confidence even more. It's another tough one to call that, but I'd like to say Adesanya on that one as well. Yeah. But I feel like it'll go all the rounds. Vettori will obviously use his wrestling, I think, try and hold him down, especially after Adesanya's last fight, where he didn't really get off his back when he got put down. But yeah, I do think it'll go the distance, but it'll be Adesanya.
That was one of the things I was going to ask you about, because obviously a lot of people sort of put a lot of stock into Adesanya's last fight in the wrong way, and sort of thinking, you know, obviously he got took down and looked a little bit helpless off his back. Do you see that more as like Adesanya was quite exposed in the grappling, or do you just think it's, you know, Jan Blachowicz was just that good? He's the heavier guy.
Well, yeah, it's that extra weight as well, isn't it? It makes a massive difference when it comes to grappling. And he's not exactly the biggest of guys. And then you look at Jan, he's huge. So when you've got someone like that on top of you at the end of rounds and stuff like that, it's not nice at all. So I wouldn't say exposed, because he's had that many MMA fights now that you can't really say exposed, because at first you've got to get him down there and you've got to keep him down. And obviously a bigger opponent such as Jan is capable of doing that. Not that Vettori isn't, but it's definitely going to be easier getting up from Jan than it is him.
Yeah. And a couple of fighters a little bit more close to your weight division. The other rematch, Deiveson, Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno. It's that first fight, I'm sure you've seen, it's probably one of the best fights ever. Definitely, I think, for the flyweight division.
I watched it again the other night, actually. It was unbelievable, man.
Yeah. But there's, you know, you don't want to get too much into the storylines in the background, but there's quite a bit of chatter around, you know. Obviously, Figueiredo struggles with the weight cuts. That fight, he turned around pretty quickly. I think it's about 3 weeks later, he fought again, which obviously means you have to cut the weight again. There was some sort of stories that he was actually in hospital before the fight. Do you pay much attention to that? Do you think, you know, you don't think Figueiredo is at his best, or do you think Moreno's that good?
I think Moreno's that good. I think Moreno's going to take it. I was watching some yesterday, and obviously it sounded like they were expecting a lot more from Figueiredo, and he's already ridden that wave. So I think he knows the crack with it now, and I think he's going to get the better of him this time.
Fair enough. Do you ever see Henry Cejudo coming back possibly to that division, or any of the others around that, or do you just think, you know, he's sort of done?
I don't know. It'd be nice to see him back, because he's such a good fighter. Don't really like him as a person, the way he goes on and stuff like that. But you can't knock watching someone like that. He's just unbelievable, isn't he? It would be nice to see him come back. And he calls himself Triple C and that, doesn't he? And he wants to go featherweight. Yeah. So it'd be nice to see him come back. And maybe imagine if he was three-time world champ. No one's ever done that before, so that'd be good to see. So yeah, hopefully if it comes back, it'll be something with a bang like that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the next thing I'll ask you about then. You sort of mentioned him possibly coming back at the featherweight division. We've got a title fight coming up in that one as well. Brian Ortega versus Alexander Volkanovski. You know, pretty interesting one. It seems sort of tough to pick, at least from my point of view, just because Brian Ortega, we haven't seen much of him lately. Obviously, he had that bad loss to Max Holloway. Been away for a while, then he looked great against Korean Zombie. How do you see that one going out?
He looked fantastic against the Korean Zombie. I think that's another tough one to call. I think that's going to be a very back and forth, very close war, that one. I feel like it'll go all the way again, and it'll be like a Max Holloway type fight. Either way, I think it'll be like one of them, like, oh, who's going to win this? I think it'll be a very close one to call. Yeah.
So obviously they're coaching the Ultimate Fighter at the minute. Davey Grant, obviously you're very close to, came through the Ultimate Fighter as well. Is that something that you'd be up for, or do you not fancy that?
Oh, 100%. I'd love anything like that. like you say, I was in the Navy, so being away in a little small bit with a load of lads is just what I'm used to. So it'd be no difference to me, apart from I'm living the dream training as well. So it'd be no different to me. Be no difference at all to me. So I'd love to experience something like that.
Nice. So on to another English lad, Darren Till, who is again possibly, when we're thinking about the next UK champions, he's definitely got to be up there in the talk for that. He's got a fight coming up against Derek Brunson. Hopefully it's going to be in London. Nothing official yet. Just sort of, how do you rate Darren Till? Because obviously he's somebody that sort of gets a lot of haters as well. But he's right up there. He's had a couple of setbacks, but he seems right there. Adesanya's, gone on record and said that he'd love to fight him. How do you sort of rate Darren Till and his sort of chances at ever becoming champion?
Oh, he's class, and he has every single chance at becoming champion, I think. He's only young as well, isn't he? How old is he?
He's only like 26, 27.
That's what I mean, man. He's not even in his prime. He's not even in his prime yet. He's got a good few years on him yet. And like you say, like the competition that he's fought already, and at such a young age, there's a good chance, give him a couple of years, that he'll be a champion.
So last fight I'm going to ask you about, and then we'll move on. It's a casual fan question, but we've got to do it because it is intriguing. Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. Obviously, it's coming up pretty close. It's about a month away. There's so many questions and storylines surrounding this one, but skill for skill, how do you see this one playing out?
I think McGregor's got too much respect for himself to be getting beaten again. I think he's going to learn from his mistakes in the last fight, rectify it, and I do think he's going to come back with a devastating performance.
Do you think he'll finish him?
Yeah. I think, don't get me wrong, Poirier very, very durable. But like you say, I think he's got that much weight on his shoulders now that he feels he has to prove a point definitely on this one. And which I think he will. I think that's what sort of drives McGregor. When you've got as much money as him, I couldn't imagine doing a fight camp with having that much money in your bank. Do you know what I mean? But I think with everything that's got on, I think that's going to drive him even more. Maybe hopefully see like an older McGregor come back.
Yeah. If he did get that done, you'd probably expect him to fight for the title next against Charles Oliveira. How do you rate Charles Oliveira? Because he sort of snuck up on everyone, but when you actually look at it, he's on quite the win streak. It's a bit of a nightmare matchup as well, because he's got the jiu-jitsu and then he's just knocked Michael Chandler out. So, who do you see being able to beat him, and do you think McGregor could get that done?
McGregor on his day can get anyone. I generally do think McGregor on his day can beat anyone, especially if he's going for another belt. Like you say, it's that drive again, isn't it? It's not just a normal fight. He's going for the belt, and I think he could beat him. But like you say, Oliveira's looking unbelievable at the minute. His jits is absolutely insane. His striking technique is ridiculous. Like, it's just like textbook, like how you would teach someone in a class. He throws it like that in a fight. It's unreal. But yeah, that would be a very interesting one. That would be a good one to watch.
Yeah, definitely. So switch lanes a bit, get back on yourself. You touched on it a little bit at the start of the interview, but you sort of mentioned that obviously you haven't fought for a while. We spoke a bit about the pandemic and some injuries and things. Obviously, looking at your past fights, it's been a couple of years since your last fight now. What's the main reason behind that?
It was when I was in the Navy, and then I ended up leaving the Navy. And when I left, I was struggling to get some jobs back home because I never had like a proper trade beneath me. So I ended up just working away doing rope access. So I wasn't, like you say, I wasn't even in the gym. I had massive skill fade. I was only getting a few sessions in here and there, and then back away. So that took up the time. Then obviously the pandemic hit, so that took up even more time. But then obviously thankful to sponsors, I went full time, and I'm more than ready to fight now. I think Davey explains it well as well, that like it's more in your head. Once you're in there, you've just got to turn it on for 15 minutes. Whether you've had the best camps, the worst camps, whatever, you've just got to turn it on for that 15 minutes and just put everything else aside.
So how did that come about then? Because obviously your last fight wasn't in Cage Warriors. And like I said, it's a couple of years back. Getting signed to Cage Warriors, how did that come around?
It was thanks to Davey. Davey got in touch with him, and then I was absolutely blown away that they come back with a 5-fight contract. honestly, I was over the moon, and I can't thank them enough. And I just want to go out and just prove that the 5-fight contract was worth it, and just put on some good entertaining scraps.
Do you have many thoughts on your opponent then? You know, sometimes you speak to people and they like to do a lot of research on them. They'll watch all the fights and study the tape. Some other people just sort of don't really care. They worry about themselves. How have you sort of prepared for your next opponent then?
Well, obviously, you have to watch a little bit on them. Do you know what I mean? You have to sort of know what the go-to is. Just standard things like, are they a striker? Are they a grappler? What do they do this? What kind of style it is? Pick a few bits that I think is going to work for me against them. So for my style against theirs. And then just go off that. I don't like to watch too much, because I think the more in depth you get, because like you say, like as soon as you get hit, the game plan sort of goes out the window sometimes. So it's pointless doing a full fight camp aiming towards this game plan, because then one little thing goes wrong, you're going to lose your head. Do you know what I mean? You just need to go in there, do what you need to do, and just work on the bits that you've worked on, and just focus on yourself, really.
Yeah. Curious, because it's probably like the worst question ever, but everybody hates it. Everybody gets asked it. No matter what job you've got, they say, like, what's your 5-year plan? You know, what do you see in the next 5 years? As a fighter, do you ask yourself that? Do you think, right, I want to, you know, get a few wins under my belt and, you know, make it to the UFC or whatever it might be? Or do you just try and focus on the next fight at a time?
Yeah, so this 5-fight contract, the perfect world for me would be getting the Cage Warriors belt, defending it, and heading to UFC within the 5 fights.
So is that where you see your future, at the bantamweight division?
Yeah, defo. I was making featherweight too easy, and I was a small featherweight. Do you know what I mean? And what is it now? I'm under nearly 2 weeks away now, and my weight's pretty much bang on track. I'm bang on track with my weight, and I'm not even worrying. I don't even feel bad. I feel good. So I know that this is the weight category for me. Yeah,
nice. And do you think, you know, that's probably class Cage Warriors is the place to be for sort of local talent, and in the UK. Do you think that'll make a difference come fight night? Do you sort of think it'll come with added pressure, or, you know, do you just see it as another fight and, you know, a good opportunity to sort of showcase your skills?
Nah, like you say, it's just another fight, isn't it? Like, I'm buzzing, and like the whole thing will be better for me. I think if anything, it'll give me more of a push. Like, fucking hell, you're on a big stage here, right? Let's knuckle down. Do you know what I mean? I'm not just headlining some of the like local shows and stuff like that. I'm putting myself out there on UFC Fight Pass now. So I think if anything, it's just pushed me more.
Yeah. And you sort of think much different opponent wise? Do you think, right, this is like a big step up in opponent, or again, is it just, you know, I'm just going to go in there and do my thing again?
Nah, I'm ready. I know that I'm ready. I'm more than ready for this type of competition. I was, even when I was fighting before, I was ready for this type of competition. So I'm just, like you say, I'm looking forward now, because Cage Warriors, there's no easy fights in Cage Warriors at all. And I think, to be fair, the bantamweight division's absolutely stacked at the minute. So I'm just ready to just put myself out there and be one of the best in Europe.
Nice one, mate. Right, we're going to finish off. A few quick fire questions, short and snappy answers, and then I'll let you get out of here. So, right, let's do it. So, favourite active fighter at the minute?
Favourite active fighter at the minute? Oh, quick and snappy. I can't even think of quick and snappy. Probably Max Holloway.
I can't believe you didn't say Davey Grant. Some loyalty, that's shocking you. Right, move on. So, favourite all-time fighter?
Davey Grant.
I do that now.
Probably GSP.
Nice.
I'd say GSP. He was just unbelievable. But the guy who got me when I first started watching UFC was the good old Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz days. So good old Chuck's in there as well.
Yeah. You got GSP as you got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All day. Yeah.
Favourite fight of all time?
Oof. That last Max Holloway one was unreal. Just the way he was in that last fight was just unbelievable. Like, that hasn't really been done before. The way he went on like that. There's loads of other fights, but that's the one that probably first comes to my head.
Yeah, I was watching that with some people who don't really watch, you know, MMA, and what was difficult to try and tell them was how good Calvin Kattar actually is as well.
I know,
which makes it so much more impressive. But yeah,
exactly, yeah.
What's the best division in the UFC right now?
Oh, that's a tough question. I'd probably go with lightweight.
Lightweight, nice.
Yeah.
So, right, last one. Who's going to be the next champ out of the UK?
Davey Grant.
Davey Grant, He's
Yeah.
going to do it. When's he going to get it done? 2022?
He's going to win this fight. He's going to win the one after, and then I reckon title shot.
Nice. Spot on, mate. We'll leave it at that. But really appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll speak again soon. After you knock out your next opponent at Cage Warriors on Fight Pass, we'll have a chat with you and see what's next for you.
Therefore.
Nice one, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, mate. Thank you.
See you, mate. Bye.